Today we're going to be talking about how to interpret relationship karma using astrology. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Nina. I'm a Western tropical astrologer who's been studying astrology since 2014 and reading professionally since 2017. To book a reading with me, you can go to ninabastrology.com, and in fact, by the end of this video, I will be announcing a new little service that I have on there. So this video is a follow-up to a video that I posted a couple weeks ago called What is the Deal with Soulmates? That video was more of a philosophical discussion talking about my interpretation of the definition of soulmate, twin flames, and what it might mean to have a soulmate. In that video, I talked a lot about relationship karma naturally and how there are many different paths that a soulmate might take you on in this life. There are many different kinds of soulmates. There are many different kinds of relationship karmic patterns that you might be going through with any particular soulmate. And today we're going to talk about some real practical tools on how to understand what relationship karma you might be going through in any given relationship that you might feel may be a soulmate. But even if you're not totally on board with the idea of soulmates and past lives, you can definitely still see what kind of purpose any particular relationship might have in your journey through life. And we're going to be understanding this theme of relationship karma and how to interpret it using the Davidson relationship chart. So this is a bit more of an advanced kind of technique. I actually picked it up from Nicole Huntsman from Modern Cosmic Astrology. She has a channel here on YouTube and she has a whole series on this topic, which I will link in the description. But I'm going to talk you through this concept myself for a second. So the Davidson relationship chart is a sort of composite chart. The way that I differentiate the composite chart with the Davidson relationship chart is that the composite chart to me is sort of whom you might become in a relationship with someone else, where you guys might meet to take on a new ascendant when it's the two of you together, a new sort of joint sense of self when it's the two of you together. The Davidson relationship chart, on the other hand, is more so talking about the relationship, not like synastry, the way that you interact with each other, not like the composite chart where it's the kind of energy that you take on together, but really the relationship itself, the chart of the relationship itself, the strengths within the relationship, the patterns overall, weaknesses, and the baggage. And to define the karma of said relationship, the karmic patterns that you're going through in this relationship, you want to look at naturally the North and South node in your Davidson relationship chart with a particular soulmate. The reason that I think it's important to look at the Davidson relationship chart in this case, as opposed to a composite chart, is that it really says what this relationship is teaching you. And when looking at especially the South node in a Davidson relationship chart, you can see what the relationship once was in a past life potentially. And on the other side of the coin, you can see what is the sort of karmic path, the sort of lessons that can be learned from this relationship. And when you see sort of the purpose of the relationship, the roots of the relationship, and you even want to see how important of a relationship this is it built to last, yada yada yada, you can also see how those aspects of the Davidson relationship chart match up with things in your own natal chart. And I'll get into some more specific examples a little later on. Whereas if you were to use this technique looking at the composite chart, it would sort of be like where your two paths meet, where your two kind of south nodes intersect. So sort of the themes that are common within your two individual past lives and where you come together on that, but not necessarily what is the karmic energy of the relationship and the union. The difference practically between these two charts is the way that you calculate the composite chart is that you take the placements of each individual's chart and you find the midpoint between them. So take me and Shayna, for example. I have Venus in Aquarius, she has Venus in Sagittarius, and so between those two things is Venus in Capricorn. Our composite Venus is Venus in Capricorn. But the way that you calculate the Davidson relationship chart is different, even though it might produce somewhat similar results. And that is that you take the stats, the birth information of each individual, the dates, the times, the location, and you find the midpoint between those. So I was born at the beginning of February, my partner was born at the end of March. I was born on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. He was born on the West Coast in Los Angeles. And so our Davidson relationship chart would be the product of some date in late February, early March, something like that, in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota or something like that, in the very smack dab middle of the United States, at the exact midpoint of the years that we were born and the exact midpoint of the times that we were born. So that's the difference practically between those two charts, if anyone cares. But what we're really talking about today is the North and South Node in the Davidson relationship chart. You'll get an idea of what sort of karma is in this karmic relationship of yours by looking at the signs that the North and South Node are in, the houses that the North and South Node are in, the rulers of the North and South Node within the Davidson relationship chart, and naturally how all of those factors relate to things within your chart, your natal chart, and your partner's natal chart. Those are a lot of different factors, so I think the best way for me to describe how exactly to interpret relationship karma using this method is to give you concrete examples. So first example, let's look at the South Node in Taurus. If you want to get into like really practical interpretations of what that might mean in your past life with a soulmate, that would be maybe a more rural life that the two of you lived. Your relationship might have been especially practical, especially rooted in the value that you two could provide for each other, rooted in security and comfort and wanting to be steady, stable figures for each other in each other's lives. So when you meet someone who has the South Node in the Davidson relationship chart with you, there can be an immediate comfort, an immediate desire to attach. It might even be something that you're a little clingy towards, like you feel desperately that you need this security in your life, because on the flip of the coin you would have your North Node in Scorpio, and that can mean you can go through an intense loss with this partner, some unfamiliar feelings of betrayal with this partner, but it also could mean that your relationship in a past life was so secure, so stable, so even like run of the mill, that is the person that you decided to have a soul contract with because you felt comfortable enough feeling and experiencing deep intimacy, even trauma with this person, and unlocking deeper, darker parts of yourself within this relationship, or having a more spiritual and intimate experience with this person in this new lifetime as a recurring soulmate. The way that you interpret relationship karma, I should also note, also depends on how you interpret the North and South Node. The way that I interpret the North and South Node is that I really consider the South Node very, very important and really like a place to come home to consistently, whereas the North Node is more of that wilderness experience. So a lot of people might interpret the North Node as sort of like the one and only direction that the relationship can be headed in, and therefore see a relationship with a composite North Node in Scorpio as something that's kind of like doomed for loss and betrayal. But I don't really like that interpretation of the North Node in general, natally or within the composite or Davidson relationship chart. To me, the Davidson relationship South Node in Taurus really says to me that there is a bond of comfort and wanting to provide for each other, that there is a recognition of stability within each other, that there really is just like love and value within this relationship. But the karma that you do have to go through is of getting deeper, getting more intimate, experiencing fears of loss, experiencing potentially betrayal, potentially seeing the uglier sides of yourself or this partner in this relationship. But at the end of the day, you chose to do that in your soul contract with this person in this relationship because you have such a deep sense of comfort and security in this soul connection. And so truly the lesson, the karma in this relationship is to grow, to become more intimate with this person, even to become more intimate with yourself by virtue of that, to maybe experience some very intense chemical attraction, deep like whirlwind feelings of passion and lust and whatnot, and open yourself up in that way. And I actually have this North Node and South Node combination in 2 relationships of mine, Taurus South Node, Scorpio North Node, and they're still very different relationships because when they're different people and they're different Davidson relationship charts overall. For one, with the partner that I have now, the South Node is in the 8th house and the North Node is in the 2nd house. So these themes are really, really strong across the board, and there really is a strong push and pull of comfort, deep security, showing each other what it feels like to feel safe, knowing the feeling of safety and closeness and stability and assuredness within each other, but also learning and experiencing and knowing intense intimacy, whirlwind feelings of passion. And there's definitely that push and pull of deep attachment, of not wanting to lose one another, of fear of losing one another, of exploring our inner psyches and even traumas together, and really deep self-work. Now, that also brings me to the rulers of these North and South Node signs, which are Venus in the case of Taurus, South Node, and Pluto and Mars in the case of the Scorpio North Node. And our Davidson relationship, Venus is in Pisces in the 6th house. We have a Libra rising, so everything is sort of like flipped on its head, right? This Venus to me really shows that soulmate connection, because it is Pisces, that soulmate sign. There's that feeling of absolute unconditional love and of knowing each other in our souls, this relationship being a soul mate relationship, something that is full of unconditional love and lifetimes of connection and understanding of each other woven into this one relationship. In the 6th house, in addition to other things in our relationship, compatibility, synastry, everything, it shows to me the nature of us wanting to improve ourselves and each other within this relationship. Pluto's in Scorpio in the 2nd house conjunct that North Node, so there are definitely lessons of loss, of being without, especially physically, monetarily, and really showing that there is a fight for being able to feel that comfort and security with each other on a practical level, and that is part of what we're working towards in this relationship. And Mars is in Aquarius in the 5th house, which I'll just say means that we have a lot of fun, but we also really care about raising children together, which is a definite way to interpret Mars in the 5th house, that motivation for creativity, especially in Aquarius, you know, creating the new generation, you know, bringing up revolution through children, which, especially when you're interpreting the composite North and South Node like this, shows a lot of wanting to honestly repair trauma and start something new. And that's especially prevalent when you see that our composite North Node is conjunct my partner's Ceres in Scorpio. There's some other promising things, like my natal Juno falls into this Davidson relationship chart 7th house. But yeah, that's all to compare now to another relationship that I had that also had that South Node in Taurus, North Node in Scorpio. This time though, the South Node is in the 9th house the North Node is in the 3rd house. Already the fact that they are in mutable houses as opposed to fixed houses in the other example, it shows that the karma is a whole lot more lighthearted. Like, it's not based in like the 8th house of sex and deep intimacy that the South Node is coming from. It's coming from that 9th house of culture and learning and whatnot. And so it could even be that we were teachers to each other in some way or another in a previous lifetime. In fact, I did have a past life regression in which I saw our relationship in the past, and really, we're gonna get really woojie here, but we were neighbors. We would meet up in like this field, so very Taurus. There was a creek too running through it, which was very my South Node in Pisces. Every single past life regression or reading that I've ever had has involved water to a huge extent, but we were of different religions, and that was like getting in the way of us being able to be together. So that's a little bit of 9th house. We were expanding our horizons with each other, and even like in this lifetime when we met, we were from totally different backgrounds culturally. The thing with this relationship is that we were fast friends right off the bat, and we felt a deep affection for each other. And then once we got involved in an actual relationship, there was so much fear with communicating how deeply our feelings went for each other. There was so much fear of commitment because there was so much fear of how strong our feelings were. And our Davidson relationship, Venus, is in Scorpio and it's retrograde. It's exactly conjunct to the North Node as well. So that was the real karmic challenge in the relationship, was being able to be fully vulnerable and open and actually get to that strong state of intimacy that the North Node is kind of pushing us towards. But also, it's a relationship that I had when I was relatively young, like just starting my adulthood years, and it showed me the depth of my feelings and the passion that I was capable of, and I really did not settle after that relationship with anything that did not set my soul on fire. Even though, like, practically this relationship was not really gonna go anywhere because we were too scared to admit the depth of our feelings for each other. Pluto's in Scorpio in the 4th house in this Davidson relationship chart. Interestingly, what finally released me from my karma with this person was moving, was us not being able to see each other because of our homes being so far away suddenly. And it was a very drastic move, actually. I went through a really drastic, unexpected move, and then he went through a very drastic, unexpected move, and we were ostensibly out of each other's lives. And that was what was able to break me from that Venus in Scorpio retrograde, North Node in Scorpio, deep attachment and passion, but fear all woven into it. And I often think that like the best years of our relationship was when we weren't together. We weren't really addressing our karma. We were just sort of like in that more South Node experience of feeling very fun and comfortable and loving with each other and not feeling the pressure to express the deep underlying burning passion that we had for each other. Then the last thing to look at really is Mars, which is in Leo in the 12th house. That's so interesting to me, actually, because compared to the last relationship chart that we looked at where Venus was in Pisces, so it really showed in that relationship that love and affection and connection is what our souls recognize in each other. This Mars is speaking to the kind of karma that we had to accomplish in this lifetime in this relationship, and it's in that Pisces house of the 12th house. And so it shows that the relationship was about being able to ignite that passion within each other. And that was how our souls recognized each other and were brought together. So that's so interesting. And I think that those are the only two examples that I'm really going to touch on for the sake of time. But it was just a way that I wanted to illustrate how this technique works and give you potentially some practical tools to be able to interpret relationship karma, since I brought up relationship karma and the many avenues that it can go through so much in my soulmates video. Of course, it's an intense thing that you really need to know your way around a Davidson relationship chart to be able to fully interpret the nuances within your karma with an individual person, a soulmate. But I am going to link Modern Cosmics whole playlist where she has a video for every single combination of North Node and South Node in a Davidson relationship chart for you to check out. And I'm actually going to be starting to offer relationship karma readings on my website. So if you want me to interpret your relationship karma with a particular partner, just like I did with some of my partners, current and previous, in this video, then you can do that by going to ninabsastrology.com and booking that specific reading with me. I'm also curious if you guys are interested in more videos along this topic, like I could interpret some power celebrity couples relationship karma by looking at their Davidson relationship chart. So I'd love to know if that's something that you would be interested in. But that is all from me for today. Hopefully I will talk to you again very, very soon, maybe even in a relationship karma reading. I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.